The question is absolutely relevant, very important, and hinges on not just one but several instances of blatant corruption. Blatant corruption where the Congress is happily looking the other side. Not just looking the other side, but is just going as though there's nothing at all within the Congress for them to worry, and they are here to ask questions of the government. We welcome Congress's energy, enthusiasm, and also their eagerness to engage with the government. But I hope they engage on matters of public interest and on matters which are critical for the citizens of India. But after answering us on some things on which you in the media, the public, the citizens in their respective states are asking questions, and the Congress is behaving as if they've not even heard a whisper. And I would definitely bring before you, maybe not new instances, but it's a shame that such instances have been in the public domain with newer information getting added on to them for a year or more, or even more than that. You know, the BJP and the new NDA government since 2014 has been actively pursuing matters related to black money. And when the leaked HSBC list had come out with Srimati Praneeth Kaur's name. Srimati Praneeth Kaur is former MOS External Affairs. Srimati Praneeth Kaur is the wife of the now deputy leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, the MP from Amritsar. When the leaked HSBC list revealed that she probably has an account abroad, and when we from the BJP raised it, there was a total denial, saying no such account in my name or in my son's name, and all this is being thrown at us because of political animosity and everything else. Today, a week ago, you've come to know that we've also come to know that the Swiss tax authorities have issued a notification which is part of their gazette, so I'm not saying it off the cuff, or I'm not even relying on a leaked document. It is a Swiss government's document which has asked, or which has probably issued a notice, I don't know the legal parlance for it, to Srimati Praneeth Kaur and her son Raninder Singh to appeal, to exercise their right to be heard, which is part of Swiss process. Will that happen if there is no alleged account abroad? Now, therefore, the so-called allegation based on that leaked HSBC document is getting reinforced with not a leaked document but by the notification of the Swiss authorities. So, is the Congress party seized of this matter? Is the Congress party looking at it from the point of view of black money? I remember, even before the NDA government was formed, every member of parliament of BJP was asked, and I remember Shri Advani ji had very clearly stated this, and all the BJP MPs obeyed it, that they would declare that they do not have an account abroad. And when BJP did this and therefore was able to even speak firmly on the matters of black money, the Congress said, aha, this is natakbaji. And even after that, when this NDA government is formed and we are taking every step, and you'll remember the first decision taken by the first cabinet post the formation of the government was on black money related matters. SIT was formed. Documents have been submitted to the SIT. So we are firmly on the track of getting black money from abroad back to this country and also detecting black money within the country. But the Congress party, with one of their former minister and the wife of the current deputy leader in the Lok Sabha, with an official document of the US also, Switzerland also, now indicating that she may have had an account abroad, looks the other way. But comes to the parliament to say, what action have you taken on black money? You're not sincere on black money? How hollow can these words sound? And this is black money plus corruption related. After all, these are non-taxed monies which are going. Take the next instance. Congress is now with a flourish of a list on this. Take the next, the Kerala Chief Minister. And please recall that just only probably 10-15 days ago, Kerala's finance minister had to resign on what was called a bar bribery case. And that was after a long drawn, no, he should resign, no, he will not resign, no, he should resign. That happened for a very long time. Then he resigned. Today, that solar scam, which has been on since 2013, and today when there is a single judge commission looking into it, Justice Sivarajan Commission, the prime accused deposes before the commission to say that he has visual evidence also to prove that 5.1 crores were given to the chief minister of the total 5.5 crores. And the rest of the little money was given to the others. And the others probably included people in his office. And when the allegation came to the fore and BJP and other parties accused, because one of his personal security guards, Mr. Raj, Salim Raj, if I remember the right name, had come out to say, yes, money was exchanged, and because he said it, there was a lot of, exchanges, and then Salim Raj was thrown out of his job. Not only that, many others who were part of the CM's office if I can get the names right, Mr. Jopan, Jikumon Jacob and Mr. Salim Raj, all belonging to the CM's office, had to be sent out. Will such an action emerge if there was no fire, smoke without fire? But today, all those, and together with what the prime accused has said before the single judge, has only reinforced the allegation. It is not an allegation thrown by the opposition. All those who were part of the CM's office themselves, little by little exposed it, and today the prime accused says, after the arrest of the other prime accused, Sarita Nair, the lady Sarita Nair, this visual evidence was even shown to the chief minister. But there is a pretense that nothing has happened. 5.1 crores, this prime accused says, I've got visual evidence, I can show it, and I have also given this money. Isn't that what Salim Raj said earlier? So allegation again getting reinforced It's not just BJP throwing it, allegation getting reinforced in a state where the other prime accused, the lady, apparently says not just monetary favors, but I'm sorry to say this in front of all of you all, sexual favors were extended. And the allegation doesn't stop at the doorstep of the chief minister, but there are other cabinet colleagues also who are part of this, so-called beneficiaries of this allegation, of this bribery and other scandal. Even worse, the prime accused says, I was promised 70 acres in Palakkad industrial estate. Palakkad, which is one of the very important municipalities in Kerala. The prime accused says, not just this cash was given, I was promised in return 70 acres of land in Palakkad industrial estate, and if he had given that and if my industry was to be set up there, I would have given him in return 40% in the profit. 5.1 crores. In return you get 70 acres of land, and after that you set up your industry. When it makes profit, you give 40%. A full monetary network, money trail and everything else, very well tied up. And since 2013 this is happening, and the single judge commission, apparently, I do not have the records in my hand, apparently is widening the scope of its inquiry. Now Congress party remains as though nothing is happening wrongly. Is the Congress party seized of the matter that in a state only when a few weeks ago the finance minister had to resign on corruption charges, here is the chief minister himself being charged, and the commission of inquiry has the prime accused talking about monetary and sexual favors, not just to the chief minister but also to the other cabinet colleagues. Congress party, wake up, answer. No corruption, no corruption charges, no black money charges, and Congress party behaves as if they have to come to the parliament to accuse this government, which is given corruption-free governance for the last 1.5 years and is sincerely following issues on black money. And to that government you come and question on things which don't even reflect the malgovernance within the Congress, don't even talk about the corruption within the Congress. All right. Now this is not all. Move to the other interesting development. Again related to the Congress, but in a different state. I'm sorry to be so elaborate, but the kahani is so elaborate. Income Tax and Enforcement Directorate raids into companies where Karti Chidambaram is associated. Why should it be important? It is important because it's part of a larger 2G inquiry. 2G inquiry in which Aircel Maxis is also part of the inquiry, and money transfers into companies in which Karti Chidambaram has an interest has happened only few days before Aircel Maxis would bid, and the change of ownership and other changes in Aircel Maxis were all allowed, permitted by the then finance minister, who happens to be Karti's father, P. Chidambaram. So, I am just giving you a very simplistic link between one and the other, but that is exactly what the ED and Income Tax Department are inquiring into. On a single day, I won't get into more of these details because these are things in which investigation is going on. The allegation is, just for us to understand the enormity of this whole issue, on a single day, the JD Group gave 8.64 crores loan, interest-free loan, to Vasan Eye Clinic, in which Karti Chidambaram has an interest, through a different company which held it. I mean, all these are, convoluted operations, but that's exactly the matter. And on that same day, when check was given, interest-free loan through check for 8.64 crores was given, 40 crore was given in cash. If you're talking about black money in this country, within the country, these are the ways in which black money reaches the powerful and the influential. 40 crores in cash on that very day, when check is also given for 8 point some crores as interest-free loan. And all this happens few days before the change of user, and also bidding for the 2G and other things happened. The last for establishing my arguments today is about Sri Veerbhadra Singh. On whom we have spoken and spoken and spoken. I can give you a lot more details. Suddenly his wealth increases from 47.35 lakhs to 6.56 crores. His apples, which he claimed were being transported on scooter pillion riders, are earning him crores. And some LIC agent is involved in this whole matter. I am not going to go into the details, you have heard it several times. Now, if that is the last on which another chief minister, huge big corruption, money laundering, again Congress happily and blissfully ignorant of the facts, not even pretending to know that this is happening. Mind you, if I can recall, he was moved out of the central cabinet at a time when UPA 2 was in power, back to Himachal Pradesh to take care of Himachal Pradesh after allegations came up here, and he couldn't any longer continue to be in the cabinet here. Of course, I don't need to add allegations against Uttarakhand Chief Minister Harish Rawat. That's also something all of us can talk about. Now look at the series of noble great leaders of Congress. Praneeth Kaur, Kerala Chief Minister, where Kerala already had the Finance Minister resign. I am turning the pages because I am losing count. Karti Chidambaram, Veerbhadra Singh, Harish Rawat, and a few more cabinet colleagues in Kerala. Of course, before all this, the smaller allegation that one minister's wife was caught red-handed in Karnataka taking bribe. That's become so, small thing. All this from the Congress table, friends. Does the Congress party even have any mechanism to check corruption within the party? And there are people holding constitutional positions. And when they talk about corruption, and when they come into the parliament to question the BJP-led NDA, I just would want to ask of them, what is the answer they want to give for all these allegations? They are no longer just allegations, they are serious. Institutions are involved. Governments are involved. Commissions are getting substantial concrete evidences before them. What is the action that you are taking? And before that, you have the Congress coming and speaking in such voice as though they have nothing to worry about. I would demand that the Congress take action on each one of these cases. In fact, in Kerala, the Kerala unit of BJP has already demanded the resignation of the Chief Minister in Kerala. We had already earlier demanded the resignation of Sri Veerbhadra Singh. After, in tape, Harish Rawatji's PS was caught on camera, we had asked as to what moral authority he would have to continue in his position. Praneeth Kaur is, of course, no longer the minister, and she's not even an MP, but however, she's former MOS and the wife of the current deputy leader in Lok Sabha. So the Congress party has a list of important leaders on whom such serious charges have come. We would demand that the Congress answer these questions that we've raised, take action and remove these alleged leaders from their positions. Thank you. Thank you. Why, are you asking in the light of the allegations that we put? This has been on from 2013. Well, allegations are something on which the Congress party has to take action. And strictly speaking, GST is something which is their bill. GST is for the national interest. And I don't think you're suggesting that, if these are becoming an issue because of which the Congress, and I wouldn't imagine that, I don't want to imagine that, and because of that the Congress party wouldn't want to support the GST, it would be a sad day. But I'm sure the party is matured. It's an old party, is very, has seen power, has been out of power. They should be able to handle these allegations with maturity. In fact, they should take it as an opportunity to cleanse the Congress party and come out better. Well, I thought this morning, after discussion with the chair, and not just this morning, but discussions since yesterday, Piyush Goyal ji had read out his regret on the matter. And that was after discussions yesterday and this morning. Strictly speaking, because it is a development post the discussions with the chair this morning and with the deputy chair yesterday, I would expect the matter should be solved. Well, Grand Mandir should be built is not a new statement. It has been said several times before. Well, BJP definitely believes a Ram Mandir should be built sometime. क्यों इंक्वायरी और रेड्स जो हो रही है इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट और एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट के द्वारा, और इन सम केसेस सीबीआई इंक्वायरी भी जारी है, ये सब कार्रवाई तो लीगली जो होना है वही हो रही है। मगर इसको भी, जैसे आप हमारे ऊपर प्रश्न पूछ रहे हैं, जो सही है आप पूछ सकते हैं, मगर कांग्रेस को तो इसको पलटवार करके पॉलिटिकल वेंडेटा के नजरिया से देख रहे हैं। अगर उनको डरने का कुछ चीज ही नहीं है, जवाब देना है, क्योंकि लीगली जो प्रश्न होते हैं, लीगली जो इंक्वायरी जो होते हैं, उसको सही जवाब देने में उनको भी फायदा, देश को भी फायदा। हम तो इंक्वायरीज जो लीगली होना चाहिए वही तो हम करवा रहे हैं।
Chidambaram told it is revenge actions.
Huh?
Chidambaram told it is revenge action.
Well, if technically he or his son doesn't have an involvement, which is what he was indicating, why should it be treated as a revenge? It's an inquiry on those organizations which have received money, which have received cash, which have had transactions happening before a particular decision was taken, which is a part of the larger 2G inquiry. So that shouldn't really worry them.
निर्मला जी, आपने कहा कि राम मंदिर बनना चाहिए और बीजेपी के एजेंडे में, तो क्या इसी सरकार के अंतर्गत ही राम मंदिर बनना चाहिए?
That I can't say because the matter is in the court. Sorry, I'm not able to. Huh.
Then they should just take on Chidambaram himself and not involve his son. How do you respond to that? Basically, he's suggesting that you're settling scores with his son.
Well, I am not reacting to what he has said from his understanding of things, if ED and income tax are going on a particular route, they are going on the basis of some prima facie inquiry that they have done, and it is a legal course which any investigative agency would do. And the government would just let that happen as it should happen. If there is an inference which Sri P. Chidambaram wants to give, he is very much within his right to do, but I don't need to counter or subscribe to that inference which he has given.
Ma'am, in the last session, we have witnessed very, uproarious scenes and, activity between the two sides. And BJP every day raising allegations of corruption against the pundits, chief ministers and state. You have issued advocates. And the House just got washed out. Now this time, it started on a positive note. The first 2 days you have discussions, and are we looking forward to a session that would go exactly like what happened in the last session, or are you expecting business to run this?
I would expect business to run. I would expect a constructive engagement between the government and the parties in the parliament, and I hope it is not being suggested even remotely by you or by anybody that whenever the government or the BJP picks up issues of corruption, of related to black money or omissions and commissions of Congress leaders, that need not necessarily be tied up with Parliament's functioning. As a political party, we have every right to raise issues of public interest. Corruption and black money are matters of public interest even today, and therefore BJP shall raise it.
Ma'am, have you noticed the falling of price, rubber price in Kerala, and how do you live in?
The matter on falling of prices in rubber is something which I can say with confidence. I have addressed it, maybe not to the complete satisfaction of every rubber grower, but every time there has been a necessity for us to intervene from the central government. We are now, of course, this is something which we had suggested even last time, a kind of insurance-based scheme is being pilot tested. This was said earlier, I'm not revealing something new now. I have gone myself to Kochi to meet up with the stakeholders. I have answered several questions in the parliament. I have probably addressed 2 calling attention motion on rubber. And on rubber, with the stakeholders, I have had engagement more than 3-4 times within the last 18 months. The international price of rubber is crashing. Now, if Indian tire industry imports today, because it's an open import-export regimen, if they import because rubber outside is cheap, and also because there's not enough rubber produced in this country to meet all the demand. And a third point, of course, is the rubber that is required for the tire industry is slightly inferior compared to the good quality rubber which is being produced by Indian rubber growers. With all this said, there is a need for us to do something for the small rubber growers of India, and the ministry, both the rubber board and the ministry, are working also together with the Kerala government whenever there is an issue. And newer areas such as Tripura and other places, according to the 11th plan, we are giving incentive for growing rubber so that we have greater rubber output in this country.
Kerala is seeking central assistance for the price stabilization fund.
That's right. They have given that request and we have looked into it. We are working on it. In the meanwhile, I also understand the Kerala government had come up with some kind of a price support of certain amount, whether that is reaching the rubber growers or not, because I had a delegation only 2 days ago which said maybe that is not yet reaching the rubber growers. So there are issues both for the central government and for the state government to look into as regards rubber in India.
Ma'am, pulses importers, I suppose, at a meeting in the ministry.
That's right.
Is there anything for us?
Well, today in the Commerce Ministry at the officials level, there was a review of the situation of pulses in the country. This was actually something which the Consumer Affairs Ministry together with Commerce was to do, and Consumer Affairs Ministry has also participated in this, which the Commerce Ministry has initiated. If you don't mind, I'll just sort of give you a slight bit background. This country produces far less pulses than what is required for consumption. And this is not a new situation, it's been so for the last 10-15 years. This government has increased the minimum support price for pulses and therefore hope, and that is also indicated in this season, hope more farmers would move to growing pulses rather than wheat or rice, thereby increasing the production of pulses. However, since we grow far less than what we consume, import has been allowed freely. Anyone can import pulses from anywhere. There is no duty for these imports. And therefore, private traders do import pulses from various countries which grow, whether it is Australia, Canada, Tanzania, Malawi or Myanmar. I've taken just a few countries' names. They anticipate the crops in these countries, and well before the crops come out, these traders normally book in advance, pay the money and also get them transported to the ports which they choose to have within India. And then once it comes, they keep releasing it in certain quantity into the market. This year, unfortunately, something which happens every year, two things which happened this year is, this year the quantum of production was far lesser than even previous years. And this year, the other important fact is, the private traders who imported did not release the stock in time into the market. Some cases they did not release at all, thereby implying there was hoarding. From June, when this government was assessing the situation and went to the global market with global tenders, only the leftover dals were available for us to pick through tender and bring them, which was very little quantity in the international market. So as it is, because we are going in the last minute, because the stocks were less, because they were already bought in large quantities through the private traders, what leftover was there was being charged at a very high price. Many of the, sorry, I'll just finish it. Many of the traders who bid for the tenders when we went to global tender it, even withdrew, saying we are unable to procure. Some of them lost money in the process. I'm trying to give you a picture where, when the government went, the stocks were, readily available stocks were limited in number, but still we imported. But the sad part is, even after import, nearly 5,000 plus 2,000 plus 2,000, I think nearly 9,000 metric tons when it reached. In fact, we totally imported even more, but 9,000 when we reached Nhava Sheva, state governments were not willing to lift it from there. Only Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh had paid up money and said, we want the dal. They took it and then they distributed it. Many states did not even take it from us. Then we looked into the situation, spent the public money, meaning central government's money, to have it cleaned, washed, readied for ready use, transportation cost also given, and then said, please states, take it, at least it's come. And we brought it to Safal and Mother Dairies in Delhi and had it distributed. But even then, states did not pick it up. I understand in some states They don't even have an institutional mechanism through which they can distribute it. Even now, those imported dals are lying. So, the meeting today, coming to that question, is to well in advance review with the private traders. They are also coming for the meeting today. To review what they are likely to import, what is the global availability of pulses, what kind of demand would prevail in India. Over and above that, how much should we import if necessary. So it's a review, advanced review meeting which is going on today. Sorry, I had to elaborate it because it's important to get.
Which are the states?
Huh?
Which are the states you are not picking?
Which are the states which are not picking? I've told you Tamil Nadu and Andhra were the only ones who picked.